Welcome everybody. My name is Sean, and today I want to tell you about a story out of Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, ATM thefts have become so common, so normal, that there's actually an ATM mass grave a la Lauren Southern with the engines up in Canada, except this time it's for real, it's not a hoax, and we gotta talk about it because it's absolute madness. Larry Krasner's doing an absolutely terrible job, and ATMs are kinda huge, so the fact that so many of them can be stolen so often, and it's not raising any alarm bells until somebody finds all the ATMs in a single park, is insane to me. But before we get into that, I just want to say, go to your ATM and then visit actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
There you can get early access to my videos via the secret video page, and thank you to the listeners on Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
Now at 5, an ATM stolen from a nail salon. Police are looking for the suspect who took the machine from the Northeast Philadelphia business.
So first things first, and I need to make this 100% clear, and I need you guys to really understand this. If you call these things ATM machines, you are scumbags. You're worthless. You're garbage, and I never want to speak to you again. ATM stands for Automated Teller Machine. So if you say ATM machine, you're saying Automated Teller Machine, and I can't stand you for that. So let's get that out of the way. If I see that in the comments, you will be blocked, banned. I will come to your house and leave an angry note on your car window because that's how I roll. And if you don't have a car, guess what? I'll buy you a car and then leave the note on that windshield.
Friday night, the big story on Action News is the latest ATM theft in the city.
It comes just days after a similar incident at a convenience store.
So the next thing that I need to comment on, and I know you guys are writing about this down in the comments, is I have no idea why this guy's talking like that.
Convenience store.
I have no idea why he's like, in a convenience store. Like, you know, look up next, we've got this thing on display. I don't get why he's doing that. I don't understand it. I can't explain it. But let's get into the story of the stolen ATM machines in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, Rick Shari, employees, they say they immediately knew something was wrong when they arrived this morning. They noticed the door was pried open. When they went inside, they saw the exposed wires where the ATM was cut. They say this is the first time anything like this has happened. It was all captured on surveillance video. The thief in and out in less than a minute.
So one of the things that I've tried to emphasize to a lot of people who are unfamiliar with crime, criminals, and what is a sophisticated versus unsophisticated operation is that oftentimes when something looks brutish, when something looks like it's rushed, when you see something smashed up, a lot of people assume an unsophisticated criminal. However, the time, I always think, matters more than anything. If you go into a location with something in mind that you want to steal and you're in and out in under 60 seconds,
Thief in and out in less than a minute.
That is a professional operation. That is somebody with experience. And considering that Philadelphia has a dumping ground, a burial ground for ATM machines within the city limits, I think it makes perfect sense for us to assume that this is actually more of a sophisticated operation rather than just a one-off drug addict looking for anything and happening to decide on an ATM machine. Remember, ATM machines are quite heavy. They're quite difficult in order to lift, so you have to have some kind of planning and forethought in order to get these things out of the stores so efficiently.
The timestamp reads 2:13 a.m. after forcing his way through the front door of Grant Nails and Spa on the 1600 block of Grant Avenue. Watch as this thief goes directly to the ATM, yanking it from the wall. In just 40 seconds, he hauls it away. Inside that ATM was more than $6,800.
Again, a $6,800 windfall in 40 seconds. It took him 40 seconds to get in the store, grab the ATM machine, and then leave the store with the ATM machine.
I've never heard of that happening around there. It's usually pretty calm around here.
The manager of Steve Stein's famous deli and restaurant located next door calls this a crime of opportunity. The late night heist in an area where most businesses close early evening.
So you have a guy on the scene who manages the store right next door, and he calls this a crime of opportunity because most of the businesses close early. And again, these people are just out to lunch when it comes to this topic. This is a planned out and executed crime. A crime of opportunity would look something like the stores are closed, the guy spots a brick, he throws it through the window, and then he grabs something quick that he's not going to have to use tools later in order to pry open. Obviously, this was targeted specifically at the ATM, and the reason this person did so is because he was trying to get the money, and this is a common theft, and obviously there's a lot of money in the ATM, and he had a plan for how to get it open later. This is not something that just randomly, when the opportunity presents itself, a criminal goes and does. This is well planned and well executed, and I think we need to acknowledge intelligent criminals or criminals following a specific plan rather than just pretending it's due to happenstance. It's not just due to the fact that the stores were closed.
You can now add this to a list of ATM robberies in recent months all across Philadelphia.
That was a part of the targeting of this specific area, but this was an efficiently executed plan, even if the way that the window or door was broken from the jump looked a little brutish.
Just 2 weeks ago, on August 1st, 2 men were recorded stealing an ATM from the High Time convenience store in North Philadelphia. The masked men yanked the entire ATM out of the store wall with a U-Haul truck.
Again, here, you don't have a crime of opportunity. You have a sophisticated, well-planned out operation. They come in, they chain up the ATM. They already have a U-Haul truck at the ready. They drag the thing out. When they drag it out, they load it into the U-Haul truck, they bust the thing open, and then they dump it in the ATM graveyard. And by the way, you gotta see this for yourself.
Today, and right around the corner, we found these. Neighbors living along Taylor and Montgomery Avenue say this lot has become a dumping ground for stolen ATMs. The latest dump just last night. They tell Action News they've contacted police about it, but so far, no one has shown up to remove them.
Now look, shocking criminality with no policy angle, in my opinion, is not worth me covering on this story. Local news and local crime trends on their own, they may be interesting, they may be compelling. Occasionally, I may want to highlight them, but it's really patterns and policy that I'm trying to look at. So a perfect example of this is that this area is known for the dumping of ATM machines often, and the police have been notified about it by the neighbors, and yet we don't hear about any arrests related to this. If people are dropping these off right here on this location very consistently, you can't put a surveillance team out there, you can't stake out the area, you can't have officers present, you can't even put in a camera to watch people to get some information. It seems ridiculous and absurd, but then again, you remember Larry Krasner is the district attorney for this area.
And right now, police, they are not linking any of these ATM thefts, but there's still an ongoing investigation. Things could possibly change. In the meantime, managers here in the Grant Plaza, they say that they will remain on guard. If you have any information, police, of course, they want to hear from you.
Now, another thing that's really depressing about this is that this is a pattern of behavior. A bunch of stores in this particular area are being hit. They have a common dumping ground, the ATM graveyard, and yet the police aren't linking them together. They don't seem to be saying anything related to the investigation, and they're asking for basic tips on these crimes. I mean, again, if you rent a U-Haul truck, maybe it was stolen. Who knows? Honestly, I definitely don't. And you use that in order to commit a certain amount of these crimes, you would think that the police would be able to track down that rental. You would think common burial ground. We already talked about it. Some kind of surveillance, a stakeout, something like that. Nope, nothing being done on that regard. ATM thefts, by the way, not just on the rise in this specific neighborhood. They're on the rise all over Philadelphia. So you'd think maybe in this giant machine, you could put an Apple AirTag in it or something like that. So at least you could track it in case they're busting them open at a central location that has the tools needed in order to get the cash out. Yet nothing appears to be done in the city of Philadelphia, despite the fact that we have crazy video after crazy video of criminals executing these crimes in record time. This is one of the major problems I have with these left-wing prosecutors, left-wing cities, left-wing police commissioners, and all of that, is they're so not interested in dealing with the crimes of theft that what we're seeing is an escalation on behalf of the criminal. And when this kind of escalation happens, when you don't nip this in the bud from the jump, what ultimately will end up happening is that somebody will be at a place that is expected to be unoccupied. The criminals will bust in. They're already using brute force in order to get the ATM, and then somebody's going to die. And by the way, this is not a strange phenomenon for the city of Philadelphia, who is seeing all-time in terms of raw number of homicides within the city limits, and they're at in and around the worst levels of the 1990s, although not at the peak in terms of their per capita rates. So Philadelphia is an absolute disaster right now, and all we're seeing is criminal after criminal getting away with it. And it's not getting any better. The crimes are getting more elaborate, more businesses, more property is being damaged, and remember, eventually, at a certain point in time, you're going to see the these stores close, and then you're going to have the same politicians calling these store owners evil white racists, saying that they're participating in making food deserts, and they're going to call on the federal government for support, even though these businesses are closing due to the actions of the residents of Philadelphia, due to the voters in the city of Philadelphia, and most importantly, due to the politicians that are in charge of the city of Philadelphia. If you want to help the poor people in Philadelphia, you don't let criminals run wild, rip apart the ATMs that they have in their communities, damage the stores by yanking things out with U-Haul trucks. What you actually do is prosecute these criminals, drive crime and theft down to a point where you can actually get more grocery stores in the area, where you can actually get lower prices to the consumers, where people don't have to spend so much money traveling to a grocery store or so much money on groceries due to the fact that they only have the little bodegas, and those have to charge higher prices because they're experiencing theft too, and they don't have economies of scale to offset the fact that they're experiencing such high levels of theft. People need to understand that they're genuinely negatively impacting the same people that they always talk about helping, while aiding and abetting the criminals that are destroying the community from within. This is not a problem of policing, a racist criminal justice system, inequity, or anything like that. This is a law enforcement problem, and it should be dealt with by law enforcement agencies and by a prosecutor that actually wants to do his job, not by a public defender being backed by George Soros. But unfortunately, that's what the city of Philadelphia has had, and since Larry Krasner has come into office before the Black Lives Matter riots, we've seen an upward, devastating trend in homicides to the point where they're almost about to pass the worst period of time in the city's history. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, show them by leaving a like. Subscribe for more content. Follow me on my social media. Support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the rampant ATM theft in the city of Philadelphia. Till next time.